Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I know we had a very packed morning, right? I got in and people are speaking English, funding, bikes, and I said, I hope they'll be very active when I'm also going to talk about the Afcfta. I had a little presentation. I wasn't supposed to give this presentation. It was supposed to be given by my director from the Afcfta. But as you understand, the Afcfta is an organ of the African Union. Its headquarters are in Accra, so from today, most of the people are on leave. So I was the only one to be sent to this forum. But of course, it's under my portfolio as the Youth in Cross-Border Trade or International Trade Coordinator at the Afcfta Secretariat. I don't know how many of you know the Afcfta. At least it's 30% of the room, meaning we have the right people in this room today. I'm just going to talk about what is the Afcfta. I have seen what the director was supposed to actually give a presentation on, but I realized that whenever we come and give this tailored presentation to a specific topic, sometimes we give presentations to people who actually don't know the background of what we're talking about. So my name is Honaya Monet Setora from the Republic of Botswana, and I am the Youth in Trade or Youth in Cross-Border Trade Coordinator at the Afcfta Secretariat. The African Union in 2018 decided that Africa as a continent has to trade among each other for free. Meaning that I like plantain. In Botswana, we don't have plantain. Meaning that if I want to sell plantain in Botswana from Accra, I do not have to pay any custom duties. It was in 2018 when heads of state of government signed an agreement called Afcfta Agreement, the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. However, this agreement is not a new concept of the African Union. The Afcfta is a flagship project of the Agenda 2063. It comes from as far as the Lagos of Plan of Action that African Union, or when the Organization of African Countries or African Unity was formed immediately after African countries gained independence from colonization. The first and foremost project that African countries wanted to embark in 1991, they said that now that we are independent countries, how can we economically integrate each other? And the first one was the Afcfta. Let's create one African market. And the reason why there's the Agenda 2063 today is because the Agenda 2063 is a project of the African Union that says that we have all the plans that we had immediately after gaining independence from colonization, but we need a framework that can help us implement this project in the reality of civilization. Remember that they were making these plans long time before civilization came into place. So the Afcfta is one of those flagship projects of the Agenda 2063. It is an agreement that has been signed so far by 46 African countries that have agreed, including Ghana, that they are ready to trade with other countries for free. And when I mean free, I mean free. Before I got the job at the Secretariat, I used to be a Kente seller. In Botswana, if you know the Botswana, South Africa, Lesotho, Swaziland, Namibia, you understand that we are more into Western lifestyle. You rarely see someone putting on this in my country. And therefore, Kente is in high demand. And I can tell you, I used to buy my own flight tickets at the age of 23, 24, just to come and buy stock here in Makola Market, Togo, and Port Harcourt, Nigeria. That is how good the business of Kente is in Southern Africa. But I can also tell you the challenges of you having to get over 63 kg of Kente bags in Southern Africa. By the time they get to the shop, you are finished. So when I heard about the Afcfta, I said, who can negotiate better for women in trade? I am. But anyway, let me get into my presentation. 46 countries have ratified the agreement. They are very much ready to trade among Africa as African countries. It was in 2020 at the 13th Extraordinary Summit of the African Union when Ramaphosa was the AU chair, and he decided that if the Afcfta is going to be signed, how can it be signed without us integrating women and youth in trade? Let me also mention that when the Afcfta agreement was signed, it came with protocols. Do you know what is a protocol? A protocol is a guideline of how a certain policy is going to be implemented. The Afcfta itself is an agreement, right? But how are we going to implement that agreement? So when it was signed, it came with two protocols. Protocol in trade in services, protocol in trade in goods. When we talk about the protocol in trade in goods, we talk about tangible goods that can be traded across borders. And these, when I say across borders, I mean only borders of Africa. When we talk about protocol in services, we talk about services like tourism, consulting, telecommunications, and any other services, right? At the 13th Extraordinary Summit, it was decided that a major number of women, of course, are the ones that are actually trading on ground, especially at those borders that are located in rural areas. Most of the people that you see who are trading, especially agricultural products, handmade products, are women and young people. But however, when it comes to young people, the reason why they were integrated within the Afcfta is that I think it's very much evident after COVID that before COVID-19 was a pandemic, youth unemployment was a pandemic. Am I lying? And I wish as a young person to say that if African countries could have acted, responded to the pandemic of young youth unemployment in Africa the same way they responded to COVID-19, Africa would be a better continent, right? So it was then after COVID when now a lot of young people, or rather the percentages of youth unemployment in Africa has increased, and we realize that perhaps to add more or to find more initiatives for young people to accelerate their businesses, let us come up with a protocol in the Afcfta that will give women and youth preferential treatment when they trade across borders. How many of you are entrepreneurs here? Entrepreneurs in terms of, do you think your product can be sold to Togo? Do you think your product can be sold to Botswana? So what I'm going to talk about, it's actually one of just the policies, and I know some of you are saying, oh, they're just coming from the corporate world, these policies are just negotiated, but they're never implemented, which is actually sometimes true. Governments, heads of states tend to come up with initiatives, and then at the end of the day, it's just talks without implementation, right? But I can really assure you that with the Afcfta agreement itself, together with the protocol on women and youth in trade, those who are lawyers and policymakers know that an agreement of this magnitude, it's signed and it's an obligating agreement, meaning that if Ghana in a way does not implement any provisions that have been negotiated within the protocol on women and youth, action will be taken. And also, we do have the monitoring and evaluation mechanisms within the protocol, all the protocols that have been negotiated under the agreement. So when the Afcfta agreement was negotiated, it came with two protocols. Protocol on trade in goods, protocol in trade in services, and these were phase 1 protocols. There were phase 2 protocols that included protocol in investment, protocol in digital trade, which is actually the one that I will focus my presentation on after this. Protocol in investment, digital trade, protocol in, of course, these are phase 2 protocol on women and youth in trade. We also have protocols on dispute resolution. And the reason why this one is important is because as we are going to be trading amongst each other as African countries, of course we are going to be facing challenges in terms of dispute resolution. Africans will always fight, even if there is no need to fight, right? So this is one of the best solutions of Africa, because at the moment, when you are trading across borders, the only protocol that can actually help you when you are in dispute as a trader is the WTO dispute resolution protocol. But now as Africa, we want to trade with our own ways, our own policies that are tailored to address African challenges. Kindly go to the next slide. I wanted to talk about also the most important part of the protocol on women and youth, because when I came here, they told me that focus on the protocol on women and youth. And the reason why is because most of us who are here are women, of course, and of course young people, right? And I think the last speaker did a very good job for me when she said to you colleagues that, you know, sometimes governments come up with initiatives and policies, but us as young people, we are focusing on the wrong things. And the next thing, when you see them for the first time here, you will say that there are no initiatives. Meanwhile, I love Sewa so much, but how many of you don't know Sewa? Sewa Amehe. All of you know her, right? But do you know the protocol on women and youth in trade? When was it decided? It's because you have certain things that makes your life comfortably at home, watching things that are very beautiful online, very beautiful, and you forget about your poverty. It's only when it comes to Christmas and you do know that now Christmas is here, I have to take so and so out, and you start blaming Nana Ado. I also used to do that until I realized that my president, Masisi, is just a person with a ceremonial position in my life. Because no matter how I cry, I'm not the first person to cry. Right? So as young people who are in trade, no one is going to push you out of your home and say, do this and do that. Every entrepreneur has a story to tell. And that story will always begin with the hardships of how they started. How I started selling this without money, how I went home without food. But there's no one who's going to listen to you when you come up with these problems. The only thing they want to hear is, what is your product? What is the innovation within that product? And how, if I'm an investor, how can I get back my money? And when we talk about the protocol on women and youth, before its negotiations that were done, we had carried out national and regional consultation as the Afcfta. This is whereby heads of states come together and say that as an office that has been obligated with negotiating this protocol under the Afcfta agreement, go out to African nations, every corner, and gather young entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurs and find out what their main challenges are when they trade across borders. So that when we negotiate this protocol, we are addressing issues that we know Togo experiences in Western Africa, Tunisia experiences in North Africa, Chad experiences in Central Africa, and Botswana experiences in Southern Africa. So we have made all the consultations, and the main challenges that we have gathered that are common from all the regions and almost 60% of the countries that we have covered. Of course, young entrepreneurs are facing challenges in startup capital, right? Which is the one that the lady who our last speaker was actually talking more about it, and I was really actually impressed about certain initiatives that Ghana has for young entrepreneurs. The other challenge that they have raised as we were doing our regional consultations was that, of course, apart from lack of startup capital, young people are unable to borrow money from banks because of, or financial institutions because of collateral, right? Because as a young entrepreneur and you want to accelerate your company and you want to borrow a loan, even actually the most tailored programs within financial institutions, you know, they come to us as young entrepreneurs, tell us that, oh, we have an SME section within our bank and we want to help you. Sometimes it even becomes more difficult for you to get these grants, right? Not even grants, but loans from financial institutions. And also now when it comes to government grants, it also becomes a very cumbersome, selective process sometimes. I've actually had some of you, you know, thinking that there are some people who are given preferential treatment, and that is politics. But what I'm just trying to say is that prior to negotiating the protocol on women and youth in trade, we had done consultative meetings with the young people who are on trade and women in trade, and the protocol is tailored in a way that it addresses these challenges. And I can tell you that there are certain provisions from this protocol that actually request governments to work together with financial institutions to remove collateral. The protocol hasn't been adopted, so I can't really actually say most of the provisions that have been negotiated within the protocol, just so that in any case there's anyone who writes, they will not quote and the member state will come and say, oh, we have heard that we as heads of states have agreed with financial institutions to remove collateral for young people. However, yes, that's what we want them to do. I wanted to talk about what does the Afcfta mean for young people, the protocol on women and youth. How do you think it's going to benefit you as a young person or as a woman in trade? Of course, I've spoken about certain provisions that are within the protocol that are going to give you as a young entrepreneur or a woman trading across borders preferential treatment, to say that in any case that I get to the border as a woman or a young person and there are certain cumbersome documents that I needed, we as young people, this document has to be actually easier for us to fill, and it shouldn't take us much time at the borders, because of course we are competing with some of the people who are on ground trading, and this protocol will help us to trade across borders at ease. Also, the other thing that comes with, I think, some certain provisions that I've seen within the protocol is that, you know, the lady who just came here was talking about how cumbersome it could be for you to be an entrepreneur and a mother at the same time. And we actually do have women here who are trading across borders. Sometimes you will see them with their babies on the back. And these are simple things to the eye of a man who will not carry that child and sell their tomatoes to Togo from Ghana, right? But as a woman, you know how hard that is. And these kind of situations are actually going to be addressed within the protocol, because it actually requests member states to build certain infrastructures at borders that favors women, to say that if I am a trader as a woman, I can, my child will be playing in a kindergarten that is built within the cross-border, right? Also including the people with disabilities. Our borders are not actually inclusive of people with disabilities. But now let's get into what does the Afcfta mean for you as an entrepreneur. The first one, of course, is expanded markets. And I know this one comes with a question of, but even though it will expand our markets for our products, where are these markets? And there's still, I will still use my same statement I said, that online we are following Nicki Minaj as far as out of the continent, but you would not know where your sobolo can be sold. I don't know sobolo. We don't have sobolo in Botswana. It's my first time hearing of sobolo, and I have never seen it online anywhere, right? So, however, the Afcfta in partnership with the Afcfta Bank are coming up with the Africa Trade Observatory. This is a platform that is actually going to be an online stall for almost all African entrepreneurs. Of course, it will come in sections of youth, SMEs, stall, it's coming out, and therefore kindly search for the Africa Trade Observatory, but also on the expanded market access for young people and women entrepreneurs. We also have first ever had our Afcfta Women and Youth Conference that was held in Tanzania last year, where we had over 200 exhibitors that were supported by Afcfta Bank and partners. But these are such platforms that we're actually coming up or initiating at the office just to give you young entrepreneurs and women platforms for you to travel to Tanzania for a conference, display your goods, because this is a conference that is being attended by a multitude of Africans, right? So I know most of you don't even know the Afcfta, you don't even follow the page, and it's really sad because you have to see how I suffer myself to get entrepreneurs to travel. I was coming from Kenya, from the Youth Connect Africa Summit, and I was organizing a side event, and I couldn't even get a speaker just to speak, but give someone a mic to do karaoke at Hanisek. You will tell us. You get it. But what I'm saying as a young entrepreneur or a young person in policy making is that prior to my hustle, I actually used to complain. The money wasn't coming until, okay, it started coming, and then I kept quiet. But what I'm saying is that what I have seen among young people, we honestly concentrate on the wrong things. We follow the wrong pages, we follow the wrong people. Not really wrong if anything that you follow is giving you the right content that is developing your life. It's okay. But I want you to go out there today, go and follow Afcfta Secretariat pages on social media, UNDP Ghana, and Ghana is one of the blessed countries I've ever been to. The diplomatic missions in these countries are very active. The last time I have seen a UN event in Botswana was during Commonwealth something commemoration in primary school. But I have been a youth activist on ground since uni. You rarely see any of their initiatives. But once you get to Ghana, you understand why diplomatic missions are in this country. UNDP Ghana office, GIZ Ghana office, IOM Ghana office, all these institutions are always having platforms. Just a few weeks back, we had a project, actually it wasn't even the Afcfta project with IOM. They had a project on feminization of migration. And, they even had youth business pitches where people were funded. Number one was getting $15,000. Number three went as low as $3,000. But also they were saying, for us to get young entrepreneurs, we can't find them. Place yourself in positions where you can be found. Place yourself in positions where you can be found. So thank you so much. But the next one is diversification of business opportunities. The lady who gave a presentation on her bike, it's a very innovative product, right? So when we talk about the Afcfta, we believe that it's going to give African countries a comparative advantage. Meaning that if you are an African country and the best thing that you have been producing or selling, like in Botswana, the population of cattle in Botswana is more than the population of human beings. There are almost 35 million cattle and there are only 2.2 million people. So our best export product in Botswana is beef. Meaning that with the Afcfta, instead of us fighting to integrate or to mingle through the African market, we can mainly concentrate on that one product that can actually be sold and give us major profits as we are trying to diversify our economy with other products within the country. Even you as a young entrepreneur, the Afcfta gives you an opportunity to be so innovative, right? I was in Kenya, and there's a lady called Ajua. Ajua is from Ghana, and she was saying that she is a rabbit keeper. And apparently Ajua has found a way of making shea butter. She puts some shea butter on some rabbit food. I don't know how she does that, but we do have her contact, and she will share her story in some of our platforms so that we hear how, because for me, I didn't know you can eat shea butter. I thought it's for, you know, body enhancement and all that. Yes. So these innovative products actually enable you as a young entrepreneur or a women entrepreneur to get market, because Ghana, Western Africa is the only country actually, region that has shea butter. Botswana doesn't have shea butter, and this is because of course, geographical locations. Certain regions have certain products that other regions don't have, right? So it also gives you that kind of diversified economic opportunities to say that in the Western region, we just know that shea butter is being used as a body cream, but in other countries it can be used as rabbit food, right? Exactly. Also with the Afcfta, of course, we're going to have a very much coordinated and facilitated cross-border trade, which is actually being guided by a policy that is being put in place, which is the agreement itself, the Afcfta agreement. I don't know if you have traded across borders before, and I mean on ground, in terms of you being there, and you have seen how actually it could be very cumbersome for you to take your goods just from the Ghana border to Togo border. So with the Afcfta agreement, actually, if we have the document at hand that is guiding officers on how to do trade, we believe that it's going to be an easy way for Africans to trade among each other. But apart from just being on ground at the border, even you yourself at home, knowing that there's a certain policy or a certain document that is guiding you to trade your goods, even online, we do have the protocol on digital trade, meaning that that protocol will guide much of digital economy within Africa. We will also have, of course, we spoke about fostered innovation and entrepreneurship, and of course, easier access to inputs and resources. I think this one, when I was putting it because of certain provisions I told you about that have been negotiated within the protocol on women and youth. That also includes, you know, governments working together with financial institutions to remove collateral, and also building investment youth funds just to assist with access to capital or startup capital for young entrepreneurs. Can we get to the next slide? Yes. Go back. Thank you. I think I want to go to the operational instruments of the Afcfta. There is a slide that talks about the operational instruments of the Afcfta. Thank you. So the Afcfta as an agreement, of course, it's here. African countries are ready and they have signed for it. But also there are certain operational or legal instruments that have been developed that are currently guiding the implementation of the agreement, right? And these operational instruments, of course, the first one is the rules of origin. As African countries, of course, we are saying that we want to trade among each other for free, but it is not going to be every product that will be sold for free to another country. only those products that are solely made, only made in Africa, will be sold for free to another country. And actually the rules of origin comes into two. Only raw materials that have made that product, of course, if it has been made by raw materials that are from Africa, can be sold for free to another country. And only those products that at least 65% of raw materials are African and the remaining percentage is foreign can be sold. Now let's talk about the 100% raw materials from Africa. I'm holding the kente because I know it's the most sold commodity and we think it's made from Africa, but it's not. Most of them are not. They are printed in China. And therefore, if you have a bulk of them at home or in your shop right now and you are like, I'm going to get that agreement, I'm going to trade this stock, and the Ghanaians are not buying my fabric, it is not going to be traded under the Afcfta agreement. Why? Because the print or the fabric is solely coming from China. And the reason why we have an operational instrument or this legal instrument of rules of origin, it's so that Africa starts to make their own products. Right? Imagine how it could be if we are opening borders to trade for free and any other product can be sold for free. And therefore, only products with 100% raw materials of from Africa will be sold across borders. Example, plantain. I love plantain. And I'm actually thinking of selling plantain to Botswana. Which other we don't have yam in Botswana. Maize, sorghum, of course agricultural product, and also the handmade handicrafts that are made in Africa can be sold across borders. So it's very important to assess your business and find out that the business that you are coming with, will it benefit from the Afcfta? We have just had a presentation about a very innovative bike, and I was with the lady outside, but do you think this product can be sold under the Afcfta? Where do you get these tires? Where do you get, was it assembled here? And you could see that these are very innovative ideas, but if we could go into the streets of Ghana and ask these guys to make these metals to do this bike, and suddenly it's made in Africa, it will really indeed accelerate her business, because it will benefit so much to trade under the Afcfta. And one thing about the Afcfta, it's a new agenda in the world. It is a new agenda in the world. So if you are tailoring your business at the moment, either consulting or a product or a service, make sure when you draft your visions and missions, name the Afcfta, and you will see how you will get support and more audience when it comes to your business. We also have the tariff concession schedule. This one is actually an operational instrument for governments who have ratified the agreement. They have given out their tariff schedules in terms of each country has been given 10 years to reduce their custom duties. A tariff is a barrier. Those who are in trade knows that tariff means a barrier, which is a barrier to trade. The Afcfta Adjustment Fund. The Afcfta Adjustment Fund is going to, it's actually a partnership between African Bank and the Afcfta, of course, and member states, where they're going to contribute money to that fund that are going to, these funds are going to be used to be distributed to countries. It's actually a compensation to countries to say that, well, you're going to reduce your duties and you will actually benefit you from all these revenues you are getting in your borders, but we have a fund, kindly reduce them as low as they could be or even for free, and we will compensate you with this fund. So this one is mainly for custom immigration officers, and the governments. We also have non-tariff barriers. There is a developed instruments actually, which is actually a document on this one. It actually specifies all those solutions that African countries can take to remove all the barriers. Of course, the trade in services is one of the most developed, actually the most respected operational instrument that has been developed. And I know that most people here believe that trade is only in goods, right? People believe that trade is only in goods. I actually gave examples of trade in services. What did I say were some of the examples of trade in services? I gave an example when I was talking about the protocol on women in youth and the protocol on trade and services. And what are services that can be traded? A service that can be traded across border. Consulting, which is the most one that your colleagues are doing right now, right? I spoke about tourism consulting. Tourism can be consulted. Actually, tourism of present is the most consulting company that you can start for the Afcfta. You understand? Meaning that, actually, I think the tourism one is being covered by, what do you call this? The tour companies, travel and tour companies. Do you know that currently, any person right now who owns a travel and tour company, as the owner of that country, you are eligible to enter a country for free when you are bringing people in? Do you know that? As the owner of the travel and tour, the certificate is in your name, and you are taking people to Zanzibar, which I know is very common in Ghana. So, and actually, the Afcfta also, has fostered member states to negotiate the free movement protocol. There is a protocol that has been negotiated by member states, but that was in 2012. Free movement protocol. And only by now, actually, in the last time I checked, the free movement protocol was ratified or signed, or actually countries that have agreed for a free movement protocol were only 4 countries. But remember I said with the Afcfta, how many countries have ratified? 46. So countries are more faster to agree to trade goods than to allow people to enter countries for free. And sometimes they have that reason. Imagine with my small population of 2.2. I'm not trying to be political, right? But because of the Afcfta, now countries or member states actually understand that goods will not be taken themselves to these countries. They are going to be taken by who? By persons, humans, right? By people. So we will also rather foster the negotiations of the free protocol to be ratified by a lot of countries so that trade can be very easy. Because you can't say that I can trade my maize to Botswana for free, but I can't come with the maize for free. Right? So the free movement protocol is also on place, and I can also actually testify that some few heads of states have given free movement to a few countries. For example, Kenya has just removed the visa. I was in Kenya, I didn't pay visa because I haven't paid visa to Kenya. I wasn't time. But this year, I don't remember myself paying visa to any country. So it means that we are progressing. Progressively, we will get there as African countries to totally remove visa as African countries. We also have, I spoke about the dispute settlement mechanism, which is the main, of course, that will actually assist in tackling any issues of disputes among traders. But also there's a loophole within this one because it looks like only member states will only have to use the dispute. It will only work for goods that into note, and I think as the protocols have an open view in terms of review, this will be into account. I think I also want to talk about the e-tariff book. The e-tariff book is one of the operational instruments of the Afcfta. What the e-tariff book actually does, it outlines all those certain products that can be traded under the Afcfta of currently, which countries can you trade for free at this point as a kente seller or as a plantain seller. That e-tariff book, you can get it on our website and you'll be able to see where can you find countries where you can be able, and the rules that can be that you can follow for you to trade to that country that has opened its borders for the Afcfta. Going back to the rules of origin and linking it to the e-tariff book, we have the rules of origin certificate. We also have the rules of origin manual. The rules of origin manual also outlines certain products that can actually be traded under the Afcfta agreement. And the rules of origin manual, I think the most important part of it also, it has certain products within Africa that are there in the manual that will tell you this is a product we have found in Ghana, it's 100% made. So you can go and buy it and resell it if you want to resell it. And then there are also those products that have been stipulated to say that this product is 65% made Africa, 40% made foreign, so it cannot be traded within the Afcfta agreement. We now also have the rules of origin certificate. Once you have your plantain, you need your certificate. You need a certificate that will clear that this plantain was originally planted from Ghana, and it does not only say that it should be originally planted from Ghana, but the seeds that planted that plantain has to be originally from Africa. So that is how you will be able to benefit from the Afcfta. I will take any questions at this moment on the Afcfta or any other thing you have heard or you would want to know more about the Afcfta.
Please clap, 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 clap. Let's give a round of applause. Yes. We'll take in just 2 questions, please. The time is fast spent, and we need to go for lunch.
You've said a lot, and I'm actually impressed about what Afcfta is doing. My question is, I would like to know the deliverables. We have a target to 2063, right? So what are the deliverables? For instance, in terms of currency exchange across borders, you've spoken about trading across borders, but what about currency, language barrier, even transport? Does that mean that a taxi from Accra can move to Lome, and a taxi from Lome can move to Accra? Probably there are different prices in terms of fuel across countries. How do you create a level playing field for everybody? So,
yes. I think that's a very important question because he's taking me back to one of the operational instruments of the Afcfta, which is PAPS. PAPS is the Pan-African Payment Settlement System. It is a developed system that actually allows you traders to trade to another country without a third currency. Meaning that I do not have to change my cedi to dollar for me to be able to sell my plantain to Uganda. But I think he's also pinpointing a very important question of one currency. Actually, when I spoke about the 1991 Lagos of Action, the Afcfta, which is to create one market Africa, was one of them. Well, but within the Lagos Plan of Action, there's also creation of one monetary currency and one custom union. So you could see that at least the African Union has started working on the certain projects that
or rather policies that were recommended to be implemented as Africa enter into civilization. And I think now with the PAPs being into place, that has always been an issue of people who have already used PAPs. PAPs have actually been adopted by 12 central banks in Africa so far, if not 14 by today. You could see that Africans are really ready. But when it comes to PAPs, what my brother is saying is that, you know, even if we can create PAPs, but still, for you as Nigeria to sell to Ghana, if I want to sell my bread from Ghana, from Nigeria to Ghana, and my bread is actually, let me say, okay, you are a Nigerian, you want to buy bread from Ghana because of how the readings of the naira, so you will have to put almost 50 million naira to buy bread, just bread. You get it. So there's an issue of one currency that we need to solve. But as for now, you can trade your goods to another country without necessarily using the dollar or whatever third currency that you need, and that system is in place. He also asked about logistics. I think you were talking about logistics, and this one is actually addressed under the trade in services operational instrument, together as the protocol on in trade and services, right? So when it comes to logistics, there's certain provisions within these protocols that have been negotiated that actually will make it easier for logistics challenges and solutions to be harmonized. I have not actually read much about logistics, but I know when it comes to also women and youth who are trading, logistics is always an issue. It's very expensive for you to transport your goods to another country. But not only logistics is a challenge for women entrepreneurs in the room or youth, but also warehousing. You know, there are no warehouses at cross borders. There are no warehouses at cross borders. So at least this agreement, we are seeing certain challenges that will actually, because of the agreement, heads of states or governments will be committed to say that the protocol or the agreement requires us to do this and this. And they will do it because it's binding agreement. If you don't do it, the sanctions. Yes. Okay, another question.
My question is really simple. I mean, when you look at the West African region, from Mali to Burkina Faso, you know, very unstable French things. Ghana is, you know, we are lucky to have, you know, political transitions, you know, great, maybe that is why. What are you doing to counter these French complicated systems, you know, for those of us who are in the Francophone, I mean Anglophone world? Because I think as we talk about the free trade, security, you know, maybe that answers why Nigeria and Ghana will do a lot of trading. But within the French market, there's always complications, you know, and all of that. You can't even get their things in order. What is your organization doing, especially for the youth, to counter that? Thank you.
I think he also had something he asked about language, which is I think almost the same question, and it's very important, you know, because even with the Afcfta itself, with certain documents of procedure that have been developed that are at the borders of current, they are in English, right? And sometimes, even if this document reach that country that is a francophone, for you to translate it, you might distort because you are not the one who wrote whatever that is within that document. So it will rather be developed by a francophone, or a francophone has to be part of a team that developed those procedures. But of course, as an African Union institution, we understand that we were colonized by different colonizers, and therefore everyone is being taken into account. So even within the team that has negotiated all these protocols, we can actually assure you that there were francophones and all that. And actually now, you know, we also have an issue of regional economic communities. When we talk about regional economic community, we are talking about RECs, the ECOWAS, SADC, COMESA, EAC, right? So we say that the Afcfta was built upon RECs, meaning that before the Afcfta came, there were also certain agreements within RECs. So we are just actually utilizing, that is actually harmonizing efforts that have already been done within the RECs. And when it comes to issues of, I wouldn't call it disorganization of the Francophone, but I think they have a system that is different from those who were colonized by British, and yes. And it's actually a challenge, but I'm sure it's been tackled, because with every policy that we are actually doing, or every protocol, we have Francophones who are part of that team. And also, before a protocol actually is being adopted by ministers of trade, it has to go through RECs for them to look at it and see if it's something that can also be doable within their regional economic community. But it's also important for them to review it, because as you are saying, how do we coordinate ourselves with them? So once they receive this policy or a procedural document, the person can be able to pinpoint to say that no, but in Togo this is not going to be implementable, right? Yeah.
That would be the last question, because we actually okay.
I think first of all, she mentioned that already there's a platform that is being developed to support e-trade. So that is one, to address the issue of you moving goods. But I think also this is an opportunity for others like yourself to look at the loopholes in these systems and create business opportunities. So for instance, if you are someone who can translate and speak French, this is an opportunity to build a bridge between the English-speaking person and the French-speaking person, and then you have a business. Maybe the person translating, or if not translating, you become the middle person, taking the goods from the English-speaking country to the Francophone-speaking country. So there are a lot of opportunities in there, and I think we all have to look at it and take advantage of this.
Thank you very much. I think he's talking about one of the most powerful business idea you can take up on as yourself right now, and it's the issue of translating. You know how hard it is in Ghana when we have meetings of AU here, and I can tell you, because we are not the only diplomatic mission, we are not the only ones suffering to get translators. But you know, the good thing about Ghana is that if you go around, there are these French-speaking small schools, right? So for you, I know you will rather play your video games than learning French. I know. I've never seen men who are addicted to FIFA until I came to Ghana. So before you blame anyone, just know that there are certain opportunities, that certain programs that have come up with the AU will accelerate those kind of businesses. Gather some young to 4 young people, pay for their school in a French small school, right? Learn French, and you go into these diplomatic missions and you say that we have 4 French-speaking translators. One translator to translate a document of 5 pages in the office, $3,000 a day. A day. And you know what these people do? Even if you do not learn French effectively, you know what they do? Because Togo is closer to Ghana. They register these businesses, take these documents, find someone at the border. Or even go to the embassy. You come to the embassy and say, I have this document, can you try? You will not tell them you have been hired, would you? So please, there are a lot of opportunities coming. Let us open our eyes. Let us be aware of what is happening in the African continent before we have the Terminal 3 dream of going to UK. Thank you very much.